Okay, I think I made a mistake, and I'm worried that you're going to pay the penalty for it. So I want to see if I can undo it as quickly as possible. As I've been talking to some of you today and going through your work, I realized that it's going to be really hard for you to write a good main research question because what I've been telling you is not helpful. Your main research question is going to have something to do with the way your particular word or word group is used either in the New Testament or the Old Testament or the Torah or the or the prophets or whatever. In other words, your main research question is kind of determined by the paper, and all of your papers are about how a word is going to be used. Notice that on my paper about cosmos and ion, notice that my paper is about how the word is used. If you just go through it, you'll say, oh, well, this is about how this word is used. Okay, that's fine. So that means that's going to be my main research question. How is this word used, right? So basically, that means for your paper subjects, here they are. Here are all your paper subjects. Your paper subject is going to be on how is this word used. So let me just do an example. I'll just take covenant from Genesis to Deuteronomy. I just pop it in here. I just hit this, do this. Here's your topic. All right. Okay, got it. That's the topic. Now the question is, what's the question for it, right? So the question is going to be, how does Moses use the word, but I'm going to say covenant because I don't have Hebrew here. Covenant in Genesis through Deuteronomy. That's not good enough. So what I need to do then is, how does the way, except in English, the way Moses uses the word covenant, and then I have to put that in Genesis and Deuteronomy, how does the way he uses that give us insight into the concept of covenant in the Torah? Okay, now, this question is kind of a broad question. How does the way Moses uses the word covenant in Genesis through Deuteronomy give us insight into the concept of covenant? Insight into the concept of covenant. And, oh, I'm not there. And its application to biblical theology. How does the way Moses uses the word covenant in Genesis through Deuteronomy give us insight into the concept of covenant and its application to biblical theology in the Torah? So now, when we build our sub-questions, we're building our sub-questions off of this question. All right? So one sub-question is going to be, how does Moses use the word covenant? Okay, right? Isn't that what we're going to ask? Let's make the board a little bigger so we can see, use more space. Second question we're going to ask is, what does the way he uses the word covenant help us understand God's covenants with man? And then we'll just ask a third question. Which would be, so our question up here is, how does the way Moses uses the word covenant in Genesis through Deuteronomy give us insight into the concept of covenant? And how does Moses use the word covenant? What does the way he uses the word covenant help us understand God's covenants with man? And what insights does Moses's use of covenant I guess I'm not going to say that. How does Moses's use of covenant help us to understand a biblical theology of covenant? All of this is about use, right? Because that's what the main question is really about. That's what we're doing. That's what you've been doing for the past month. You've been figuring out how it's being used. And so this then becomes our pathway to do this, right? Our pathway to do it is the main question. I don't think I can do anything. No. Well, that's all right. It doesn't matter. The main question. And I don't think there's a way for me to color these. There probably is. What's this? Ink to shaping, the optic snapping export, format background, clear canvas, ink to table, that's interesting. Ink to shape, I don't want to do that. Active pen, I don't want to fool around with that. Clear canvas, I don't want to do that. I guess I don't do any of these. Okay, that's fine. I can't color anything. This is your main question. These are your sub-questions. You don't have to do this on a whiteboard, by the way. You can do this in a regular Word document. I don't care, because we're past that. The whiteboard was just to help us to organize our thinking. Now, I'm sorry about this, but this is where you're going to get your questions from. You got to do this. All of us have to do something like this. So if I go to the next one, which is Covenant in Joshua Esther, well, that's going to be basically the same question, right? Basically the same question. Covenant Isaiah to Malachi, basically the same question. I do want to say, though, I want to say that when you're going to be doing this question for these others, we saw some patterns there, and those patterns need to be investigated. And so when we say, how does Joshua to Esther use the word covenant? Well, it turns out it uses it a lot in human contracts. It also uses it, I don't know how many times, but maybe 7 or 8 times it uses it for a special vow that's made between a king and God on behalf of his people, where they make a covenant that they're going to do something to honor God or to obey God or to follow God. And that, what they do, they're saying, we're making this promise to God and hoping that by us making this covenant that you will bless us and protect us and heal us and turn us back to yourself. So that's not in Moses, as far as I know, but it is in the history books. And so when it says, how does Moses, that's how do the history books use the word covenant? Well, you're going to put that in there, right? And then what does the way he uses the word covenant, what the history books use the word covenant, help us understand God's covenants with man? Well, now we've got a new covenant. It's a covenant which is started from humans toward God. All right? That's different. So that's means that the information that you have in all of your galleries, okay? All of the information you have in your galleries, you're going to use that to answer these questions. And you should have seen all of this stuff in your keywords, right? That's what you should have seen. If you didn't see it, I mean, I just went through the keywords for this question as far as history books go in the word covenant. I was like, wow, there's something there. That's really interesting. I just looked at the galleries for it. I was like, whoa. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to use the galleries to answer these three questions. It's possible you could have four questions, not two, but you're going to have more than this. These are going to be main sub questions. Then you're going to have sub questions. Okay, that will help you to do this. And then when we come to the biblical theology here, you're going to be asking some questions. Like I saw Brother Yakub had some very biblical theological questions that he had in his. Well, that's going to follow from this question number 3 here. How does Moses' use of covenant help us to understand a biblical theology of covenant? That's where you're going to fold that in. But carefully, you have to stick to what's actually there on all of those keyword galleries that you put together, right? You're going to look at the keyword galleries and you're going to go, okay, this is what I see. So what we're doing then is we are answering this question, this main question, by questions that come from it. And you can see each one of these questions directly comes from the main question. And that's what you're going to do. This is the general idea of what you're going to do in all of your papers. Okay? I apologize. It's going to make your life more difficult because you may need to change some of your questions. We talked about this with 3 people. I'm not sure that we did this well enough. So you're going to have to work this through, okay? So the 3 places with covenants already covered. All right. So with Mishpat here in Genesis through Deuteronomy, this is complicated, but we can do the same thing. All right. And we will right now. Okay, so come over to here, come to here. All right. A new word, a new question. And I'm going to copy to some degree. I mean, why not? I do that all the time. How does the way... No, that's not what I wanted. Oh dear. I know I can do this. All right, so let's try this again. Put this here. How does the way Moses uses the word and I think I should probably just have left that. Let's see if I can bring it back. I just written it again. Now, in this case, this is Ruxar's question. And by the way, if it doesn't have a question mark, it isn't a question, right? And so let's put a question mark there. There we go. That's much better. It is a question, but I just forgot to put the question mark. Now, Ruxar, I think you may have a different sentence, but I think your sentence may be better than the one that we talked about today. So you look at it and you just, it's not today for you, but it's for me. All right, so here's your question. Then what you're going to do is you're going to just ask the same questions. How do, no. That's annoying. Let's try it again. How, I don't know why it does that. Does Moses use the word See, you may not want to use a whiteboard. This is kind of annoying. I'm doing this not because I don't want you to use a whiteboard for this. I'll be unhappy if you do. I want you to use a Word document for this. I'm doing a whiteboard because I'm doing a lecture, and that's what I do in lectures is I use whiteboards. All right, there's your first question. And it's used different ways. As Uxar can tell you, it's sometimes used for justice, it's sometimes used for righteous decision. So it's got some things here. So when Ruxar does this, she's going to look at all of her keywords. She's going to look at all of her um, galleries. Sorry, couldn't think of the word. All of her galleries, and she's going to say, okay, I can see that this is used this way, this way, this way, this way. So she's going to do the same thing here. All right, she's gonna try to find these answers to these questions. Oh, that's what happened. And then I can move it. What does the way he uses the word help us understand the nature of justice, judgments, decisions? I really have a sub question in here, and the sub question is this, do all of the uses have a mild or stronger sense of justice? That's a question you may not be able to answer. And your third question. So I didn't even see that. No, I haven't done this work. So Rixar has, and so she's going to be able to say, well, there you go. So Rixar's going to be able to go through this and say, well, that's not really what it's saying, and that's correct. She's the one that's done the work on it. She's the one that's got all the verses, all of the galleries. She's done all the sorting. She's got all the keywords, so she knows how this fits together. So her three questions here, her sub questions, may be different from what I've written here because I haven't done the work. She's done the work. So I'm expecting that she understands her subject, this subject better than I do. I'm expecting that you all are going to understand your subject better than I'll understand it because you're doing the work on it. You're looking at all of the verses. I do know that when I looked at the verses for on Samuel's paper, I was really impressed with these verses. There's a lot of very interesting information there. So I'm assuming that's going to happen to you. Now do you see what we're doing? So this is the way it's going to go for all of you, okay? Um, I I could do the same thing with each one of these, with righteousness and thanksgiving, and with covenant and promise in the New Testament, which is interesting, or sacrificial language. Keep um, has that, or worship in the New Testament. So you see what's happening then is that you can do the same thing. It's going to follow this pattern, okay? It's going to follow a pattern like this. Okay, so I think we're moving in the right direction. Obviously, you should have questions from this. I want to meet with each one of you on Zoom to talk about it. You need to set up an appointment with me, okay? In the next 2 or 3 days. We all 10 of you need to meet with me, okay? So I hope this will be helpful. I guess I'll post this picture. Let me just take a screenshot of it right now. Oh, I don't like that. Let me do it. Do you know you can do this? If you have Windows 10. All right, so I've just taken a screenshot of it and I will post that on Moodle. Yeah, my brain is definitely not working tonight. I sure hope that isn't senility. Okay, God bless you. I hope this will be helpful.